um, start in a couple of ways. So first of all, I just want to start by like all day long, my phone, my, iPad are just pinging me about Florida and the hurricane. So to those of you that have family or friends or, people you care about there, I hope they stay safe. It seems like quite a storm. And then I want to thank you for taking the time out. I know we've had, a lot going on. I know there are meetings that some of you were in this morning, and this is a big meeting. This is the beginning of our 2023 business planning process. And as you'll hear, and I want to thank Rebecca for taking the time and putting the effort in to prepare us. But what you will all go through is our agent business planning training. And the reason why is because we are all going to take part in business planning on the sales side this year. And so, business support specialists, you may or may not have ever known what kind of, tools and support we provide to our agents with regard to business planning. And for the sales directors on the call, you may or may not have been utilizing or encouraging the agents within your office to a business plan or utilize some of the tools and the training that we have available. And this is a wonderful opportunity for you to do that. Because as we work through our business planning for the year ahead, we will use the framework that you're going to see within this training. And there's some, I don't want to scare anyone, but there's like Excel involved. There is a spreadsheet that is extremely helpful for agents to use in planning for their business. We as a company are going to have one of those for every single agent in every office. Regardless of whether they do it, it might be a conversation that you're parlaying onto that spreadsheet, but we are going to have a combined effort to really understand and then throughout the year support our agents in achieving their business plans. So before we can start that part of the journey, though, we have, we should spend some time learning about business planning from an agent's perspective. So I thank you. I know that for some, this is like, oh, cool, I'm going to learn something new today. That's what today is about. It's about learning. And it's pretty exciting that we're all going to be doing this together this year. So I will be quiet, step back, and let you take over, Rebecca.
Very good. Well, welcome to business planning for our 2022 and 2023 season. And we're going to be covering today a couple of topics. We're going to talk a little bit before we get started on the spreadsheet. Don't let it scare you. On the some of what we're requiring brand new agents to do for prospecting, and I'll spend 3 minutes on that, touch it real lightly. Just want to make sure we're all on the same page with what we're requiring these agents to do. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the information we need to pull from Profit Power. And then we'll jump into the business planning and see how those all intersect along the way. So this is a business plan that I've been training on for, I think, 4, maybe 5 years. And it is from Better Homes and Gardens, although we have modified it to suit our needs. And that business planning training that we have, and a couple of you, Denise Whitney being one, I know, train on that. It's a 6-hour training. So buckle up, folks. We'll get done around 9 tonight, if that's okay with everybody. All right, I'm seeing some people shake their heads. Yeah, good. All right. So we've modified the training as well because we do this in our buildings foundation, and we can get through just the spreadsheet part of it in 30 to 45 minutes. So maybe quicker, but because when we're working with brand new agents, they do have some questions on it, but we'll see, it's fine. Please interrupt as we go so that we can take care of those questions instead of having to go backwards. This is a big class, so I have you on two different screens. I'm not going to be able to see those hands raised, so please feel free just to say Rebecca, and we'll stop, pause, and take your questions in a moment. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll get started. I've just done a real quick PowerPoint for you. And we just need to find it in all of the screens I have open is. And it stopped sharing immediately. Okay, hold tight. What you need is technology issues right out of the gate. Okay, Angela, you're in my screen. Thumbs up, you can see it. Perfect. Okay, thank you. So business planning 2022 is going to get underway in a serious fashion here in a couple of weeks. And some of what we're going to talk about are going to be some of what our brand new agents are going to need from us. So we want to just tell you what we're asking our brand new agents to do. And these are agents that should be in volume from 0 to about $3 million. Once they get to $3 million, they start to have a base. They start to figure it out. They start to have some repeat clients. But from now until then, we do expect that our brand new agents are going to be prospecting those that are working full time. We're asking them to prospect 20 hours a week. At this point, they don't have much else to do, and that's what they should be spending the bulk of their time on. We find a lot of these agents that they get their first transaction and they stop doing their prospecting and they turn all their attention to make sure that transaction goes well, which is great. But they need to set aside that 4 hours, 5 days a week for prospecting. Whether it's in the office or whether they're out in the field, however their style is, that's 20 hours. And some of that should consist of those 10 phone calls a day. If you're in the field, that's 10 business cards a day. We do talk to them about the difference between prospecting and marketing. And marketing is that Facebook, that awareness that they may buy a spot in a newspaper or something like that. So they're marketing themselves. The prospecting is collecting the contact information to add into your CRM. And I know our experienced agents know this, but it's important that we back up our brand new agents with that information. So your part-time agent then would do 10 if you have part-time agents in your office. We are asking that our agents set the time aside in their calendar. If it's not in the calendar, it's not going to happen. All right. And they're not done until they get that contact into the CRM and they've marked it for some sort of follow-up. And we ask them to be consistent and stay accountable to both their mentor and their sales directors. Okay. And so the lead process, we talk to them about how they want that process. The important part of that is it's taking 18 months to 24 months on average to convert a lead. And we're talking about the touches that it takes. And this has gone from 6 to 8 to 12 touches before we're converting someone. And so we're asking them to do 5 to 6 touches in the first 3 days, pause for a day or two, and then do 5 to 6 touches for another 3, unless, of course, they activate in that time frame. And then put them on a monthly for 4 weeks, and then put them on the campaign that should go out once a month to them. And we're asking them to do these 3 things a day. Some of you who may have taken the Border Collie class will recognize this: generate a contact, generate an appointment, and manage your current clients. And they need to do that in that order. Okay. And then this is for specific to the business planning that we're going to talk about today, is what are the resources you're going to need to pull to actually be able to help your agents put together their business plan. And many of them don't know where to go for this information. And we have found that it's just easier if we provide it for them. So our first and one-stop shopping for this is going to be Profit Power. And so we need to go and we need to run a closed sales summary by associate year over year. And that'll give you last year's and this year's. And then we want you to either, if you're doing this for a brand new agent, the brand new agent is going to take the averages for your office. An experienced agent is going to take either what they did last year for business or this year for business. And I would say depending on the market we're in, we need to gauge that a little bit. If we're in a market that's down a little, then we need to use this year's. If they feel like they can maintain last year's business, then last year's business needs absolutely to be used. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start to calculate that average close volume and average gross commission income by unit. And so in the case that I have here, let's just say we have an office that's producing at $50 million. That's what they've done so far this year. And the units have been 100. I'm keeping the math easy, guys. All right, so 50 million and 100 units. So you're going to just take that 50 million and divide it by 100, and your average closed volume is 500,000. Okay. Then you're going to take your closed GCI for the office. So they've done 50 million in volume and 1,250,000 in GCI. You're going to take that GCI, the 1.25, and you're going to divide that by 100 units. And now you have your average commission of $12,050. The important piece is we need to convert that over to a percentage. And so by unit, we're going to just take that 12,500, divide by the 500,000, and we now have a commission of 2.5% on their average work. Okay. Now, some of you may recognize this as a KPI or shared goals, and that 2.5 has become all important. We're actually trending in the right direction with that. And so it's one of the things that the sales directors and the mentors will watch very closely for the office and by agent. And if you're in the class at 1 o'clock, you found out some of those trends and how to dig into that a little bit. So, so that 2.5% average commission is, I believe that's right on track with our KPIs and shared goals, isn't it, Joanne? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. It is on track, although our target is 2.68.
Excellent. We will get there. So I just happened to work it out this way with my fictitious numbers, but it was a good solid number. So thank you, Joanne. All right, so we're going to go ahead and everybody's going to get the copy of the slides so you can go through those in more detail, and you'll get a recording of this, and everybody will get a sample of the business plan itself as written. Okay, so you'll have all this information, so you don't need to take screenshots or try and write it down. So hold tight just a second, and we're going to jump right into our business plan. While I'm doing that, any questions at all? Silence is golden. All right, Joanne, thumbs up that you can see the new spreadsheet on my, okay. So this is the spreadsheet that we're going to be working in, and there are a number of different tabs along the bottom, and please note that we have tabs for both a solo agent and the team agent. They can do 3 to 5 year planning as well. We haven't gotten into that, that piece of it, but if an agent is really liking the business planning piece of it, there's no reason why they can't do that as well. Then there's a monthly breakdown. We don't do a lot and spend a lot of time in there as well. Again, we're not trying to overwhelm the agent. We want to try and keep it simple. And then we have a fun exercise to do at the end with 168 hours that we have available to us every week. And we can sort of see how we actually use our time or spend our time. So in the very first tab is our budget. And the begin page here is my business expenses. Then we get down to the personal expenses. And so we ask the agents to go ahead and fill this in. This is information that is for them only. And this is one of the places we realized quickly we scared our brand new agents when we asked them to start turning in their business plans to us, was that we were going to have access to both budgets, and it made them nervous. And so one of the things that we're asking them to do is, instead of giving us the entire business plan, is do screenshots of the important piece of it for us. And we'll show you exactly where those are. We don't need to see this. It is helpful for the agents to do this. I think it's a good exercise for them to go through. But if they don't want to share it, by all means, they don't need to. I have filled out the very first piece of it, and this is for a brand new agent that is trying on a very small budget to get into real estate, acknowledging that we have folks out there that understand that they need to spend money to make money. But this is a very bare bones my business expense. And I think I'm not going to read all these line items to you. But I do want to just note down here on the income tax piece of it for 20%. We pop that in for the main agents at 20%. I don't have any idea what your federal taxes are, but that's something that folks are going to want to change as they go. And we put it in there because that sometimes is something that catches the new agent off guard at the end of the year because they're not used to a 1099. And so we want to make sure that that's included in their expense piece of it. And then just take note as you go down through here that my business expenses is 22,650 in the sample that we will put out to everybody. Anything that's in blue can certainly be changed. We're running a formula spreadsheet here. And so if it's in black, we have a formula there. If it's in blue, it's completely up to them to change that information as they see fit. And then as they get down to the business personal expenses here, again, whatever those might be, and they can change those here on this side. They can have other ones as well, so they can pop in some extras. So also please note that this is a $20,700 yearly expense. So combined, we're somewhere in the $43,000 expense. Before I switch tabs, do we have any questions? I know we're not being that thorough, so.
I don't have any questions. I just want to reinforce the part that you said, Rebecca, like this is work the agents will do for themselves as part of planning. You know, we'll be doing some of this as our business, but you won't be, none of us should be mired in this unless they're asking for our input. What do you think it would cost? Right?
Absolutely. And what do you think the costs are on the business piece of it? Is we popped some of that in there for them. So if they're brand new, they have some of that information. If they're experienced, they'll probably know that what they're spending each year or what they'd like to spend. So I'm just going to pop over to the goals team. We're not going to spend the time in this tab. I'm going to jump over here just so that we can show you that we have this tab. This is the tab where we want the agents to do the screenshots and send that to us. And this is the sheet that we also need to provide the information from Profit Power so that they can actually finish this, okay? So we're gonna spend more time on the solo agent on this one right here. And we're gonna start right at the top. And so there's also an area here where, you know, look, maybe they've got a car they wanna pay off this year. Maybe they're going on vacation. So they're gonna pop into just a couple extra funds, right? So they know they've got to get an extra closing or two in there for that amount of money. And so this $9,500 now is just being brought right down to here. That now you should recognize these two numbers. We pointed them out on the prior sheet. So those are those two personal and business expenses. And we're totaling this to $52,850 is what they need to make on agent earned money. All right. So we put over here is a gross commission income, because there are splits we need to take into consideration. There is a franchise fee, the marketing fee we need to take into consideration. So they should be considering that they need to be making $75,000 in order to hit this $52,850, roughly depending on their split. And that will change depending on that split, you know, where they are in the year for their units and volume, okay? And now this is where the rest of us come in. This is the piece of it that we have to provide to a new agent and likely an experienced agent. So in this one, this exercise right here, we had put $200,000. This is in blue, so I feel free to change this. So in the example we showed you on the PowerPoint, we had come up with a $500,000 average sales. I get that right? We did. And 2.5% commission. So note what happened here when I popped that number in, right? So I'm just going to hit the back button. So it's at 200,000. They came with there was 2.5% commission. They came with and at the transaction side commission, average commission was 5,000. So when I went ahead and popped in that 500,000, that immediately changed to 12, and then commission splits and average commission income per transaction. Okay, so again, anything in that blue can be changed. What this is telling me is that based on the fact that I'm going to be doing 12,500 in my average transaction, I need to complete 8 transactions this year in order to hit my goal. All right. So then down here, we're going to split it up a little bit more. The sample one is designed again for the brand new agent, because as a brand new agent, they typically will close more buyer sides than they will listing sides. So we have this preloaded at 30% of those 8, okay, are going to be listings, and 70% of those 8 are going to be 8 are going to be on the buy side. Again, if you're working with a experienced agent, that's information that they should have. They may not, so you may have to help them figure it out. And that's easy to do. Just go down through all of their transactions they've closed so far, year to date, figure out which one is listing, how many buy sides they have, and divide by how many total they've done. And that'll give you your percentage, and you can fill those numbers right in. Okay, so then it's going to just do the calculations, and this does it automatically for you. You're going to have 3 closings on the list side and 6 on the buy side. These are rounded up. This must be an 8.5 number here, so we got to 9 closings. Okay, and so pending rates, and this, a little of this depends on what the fall through is on the office. Don't worry about that too much. We can dig into that at a later date. That gets into some minutia for detail. It's in the spreadsheet. We'll leave it for now. But now the important part of this is appointments needed. I need to go on 15 listing appointments in order to get 3. I need to go on 13. I need to have 13 buyer intake meetings in order to get my 6 closings. Okay, and so it'll calculate all those numbers for you based on these percentages here. Just leave them alone. So then we're going to go down here, and so average number of appointments needed to result in 1 closed transaction. This is again based on that new agent. You may have an experienced agent that is super good at getting their listings, and they're 90% or above. And so that needs to be calculated in there. We can figure out how to do that and put those numbers in there. But right here, it says they need 3.5 appointments to average out to 1 closed transaction. And then 28 appointments are going to be needed. How many weeks in a year? There's 52. That can be changed to 50 or 40, or, if you get a part-timer, 26. Number of appointments you need each week, and this is calculated for you. Average number of prospecting contacts needed to result in that 1 appointment. So you can see these numbers are starting to grow. For any of you that went through the Ninja or know of that, or have checked out the funnel system in our TMG Connect, you need to start with this many contacts to get this many appointments to funnel it through to this many closings. And sometimes with a fall through rate, this many pendings to get through this many closings. Okay, so that's what we're doing here in this spreadsheet, is we're just funneling them down to, I have a sphere of influence in my CRM, right? And it's this big, okay? And it's going to just step down each step that they go. And so the spreadsheet is doing those calculations for you. At the end of the day, I need to have those 6 daily contacts, which is pretty close to the 10 calls or the 10 business cards we're asking these new agents to make sure they're doing. We're weighting that a little heavier than maybe is necessary, but they may not work in a market where there's $500,000 average volume, right? They may not be making that 12,500 average GCI. And so they may need to get to that 10. That's just an average. They may need 12 in the area that they work in. All right, so as we're going, this is going to be screenshots that we're going to start asking the agent to give us, okay? So they want to start with a screenshot that's right here. And so screenshot this. That is what the mentor and the sales director and the business support specialist need to be looking at, as is this next section, because this next section then starts getting into what we call the pillars of leads, or the source of business. And so many of the experienced agents already have these set up, but we are expecting our brand new agents to have 6 pillars of leads or sources of leads. And we're asking them to name them right here across the top, all 6 of them. All right. So some of them have very large sphere of influence. We want them digging into that, right? What's my homework? Farming, op city, pre-foreclosures. They may do for sale by owners and expireds. This is just a sample of some of them that they could be working in. And so now it starts talking about closing source from the prior year. Your experienced agents will have this, and you can override that number. Your new agents will not, but this still has to have a number there in order for the spreadsheet to run. So leave the numbers that are there, and that'll run down here. So as you can see, the top of that funnel, how big that needs to be, I need 15 contacts in my CRM that I'm adding 15, and then 23, and what's my homework, and so forth along the spreadsheet. And so that you have your pillars of leads. And then they need to be able to break down each one of those pillars of leads on how they're going to contact those folks, right? So how many times am I going to do a postcard farming to a complex? Do I do one once a quarter? Do I do it, twice a year? Am I doing it once a month? Those are the types of plans that they need to be working on. And so the sales directors and business support specialists can then start digging into, all right, I can prepare now my own plan because I just talked to 6 agents. 6 of those agents want to do a farming for each quarter. And so I now know I've got to create 24 Canva marketing pieces and help this agent push that through the system. The agent is going to pay for the Avery postcard paper, which is about $55, and all the stamps that are going to go out. The business support specialist is going to create the piece for them, make sure they do as many proofs as the agent needs, and then they're also going to help them print those on our copiers. All right, so this now starts to set up a business plan, if you will, for our business support specialists in what marketing assistance they're going to be giving. It also may mean that we've got some of these agents that have never done a What's My Home Worth campaign before. And so they're going to require some support to do that. And the business support specialist will now know that, having gone through this process. And they need to make sure they've spun up and they're trained on that as well. Any comments, Joanne? I see you shaking your head. So maybe nothing. Okay. Any comments from anybody else?
Rebecca?
Mhm.
It's Allie. On this approximate unique contacts from the source prior year. What's it?
Right here, the 30.
Yeah, and under FSBOs it has 600.
Yeah, there was 600 because they're also working. That's a double duty. We did that because it was both for sale by owner and expired. And so we're expecting that if you're working expired, you're sending out. And this is a tough category right now because there's not many expireds.
I see.
But, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And some of these numbers that we put in here on these last 2 columns to make up so that they could see that they needed a lot of contacts for these brand new agents.
Rebecca, I do have one question. So
Sure.
are we also heading these people towards Express Docs? Because that's going to be a more streamlined process for our business support specialists. Maybe a little bit more expensive for them, but we're not printing, we're not doing, so I know, are we heading on that option as well?
So yes, absolutely. I just know that there are agents that are using both. And so whatever it is their outlet for doing that. It could be Pinpoint, right? So there are many different ways to do that. I just grabbed Canva because it was the one we did last week for an agent. So, which looked phenomenal. They did a great job with it. So this is definitely a screenshot that we're going to want to see. It's one of the most important pieces of this. Any questions here?
Rebecca, where do pre-foreclosure leads come from?
So that's something we teach the brand new agents is pre-foreclosure. It's one of the income generation options that they'll have that they're going to actually learn on Friday of this week. And pre-foreclosure is in, and I think you can, I haven't looked at New Hampshire, but I think you can do it in New Hampshire as well, is we can actually pull notices out of our county registries for pre-foreclosures, and you can actually farm those folks in a very gracious manner, right? We don't want to say, hey, we heard you're behind in your mortgage, and so wouldn't you like to sell now? So we do have letters that are ready to go for folks that say, now maybe, do you know what the value of your home is? Now may be the time to sell. And so farming them in that regard. And we have a lot of these plans already set up for folks. It was actually, I think Denise Whitney, we were in a meeting earlier this week trying to make this simple for the agents, especially the brand new ones, and actually give them the whole plan. You want to work, what's my home worth? I've got the whole thing written for you. All 10 weeks worth of touches that you're going to do, we have all of that for you. And so we've already, I'm going to show you in just a minute one of the pillars of leads that we have, but we have a whole sample that's laid out for them. And all they need to do is fill it in. And Denise, if you're on and could unmute yourself for a minute and talk about that simplicity piece of it and how important it is. I thought it was a great, valid point in the meeting we were in earlier. Are you on with us today?
I am. Good thing, huh? Or I would be in
Yeah.
serious trouble. Yeah, so one of the things that we're going to be seeing in the next year is agents are going to need consistent support and proven systems. So when we can hand them something that we know works and say, do these things, they can do them. So in the past, and as agents tend to be entrepreneurs or self-starters, and we love to think outside of the box and try new things and the shiny new toy or the shiny new tool. Over the coming year, it's going to be very important that we provide them with these proven systems so they don't get distracted with all the outside services that they could be potentially bringing in. So like you said, give them the what's my home worth. Here it is. Here are your graphics. This is where you put it out, and just let them do it. We can do the thinking for them.
Thank you, Denise. I think that's great. And cues up the next piece of it that I'm going to show you here in just a second. And I apologize. I'm going to stop sharing and share again because I think it's important that we spend a little bit of time on this one. And interestingly enough, I would say of the 6 sources of leads or pillars of leads we have here, we already have this one written and we have the content ready to go. We have the same thing with this one, the pre-foreclosure and the content ready to go. And both for sale by owner and expireds, we have that already written and ready to go. We just need to put it into a format for these agents that will be easy for them. And then some of this is, a little more on the agent so that they can then express themselves when they're reaching out to their sphere or they're doing farming. And certainly OpCity is just a matter of making those 12 touches to make sure they convert as many of those leads as possible. Any last questions on this one piece before I stop share and share the pillars of leads with you? Thank you, Denise. Okay, just a moment, please, while I migrate away from this for a moment. All right. Angela, thumbs up. See the new screen. So this is the writing the pillar of leads, and this is a sample plan. Again, I think with what Denise was talking about, we want to complete this plan for them and give them that with maybe 1 or 2 blanks that they could fill in themselves if they absolutely needed to. And so the first page of this just is some components. This is really, how do you do this? And so what we're talking about down here is the actual plan. And so we're asking them to fill in the other 5, and we'll do that for them if everybody thinks that is helpful. But you're just going to go down through and fill in each one of these, right? So, and so in doing this, it breaks this down into its smallest parts. So they don't have to think about my pillar of lead is this great big huge giant project I need to work on. All I need to do is, what is the source lead I'm going to work? And then who is my customer? Where am I going to work this, right? Is the York County or is Berwick enough, or do I need to go outside of that, right? Do I need to work all of York County expireds in order in this marketplace to get enough expireds to actually work? So put some thought into that and then move on to what are my follow-up methods, right? And so as you follow up with those types of things, and is there any vetting that needs to happen with that? Certainly with expireds, is it vetting to make sure it's not a mass yellow, expired? We're not going to go ahead and send anything to those. And then your, access or contact information. So we have these areas already pre-thought out for them. And there may even be some costs involved in that. And that can work this first, and then you can backfill your expenses on the business plan as well. And all the material that you're going to need. And then if there's any coaching that you're going to need or support from the business support specialist, and what is that? And so this is a great place for these agents to start, especially the new ones, and get this filled in so that they can almost backfill your business plan afterwards, and they know the resources that they're going to need. Any questions on that document? Okay. So again, I apologize for jumping back and forth, but we want to get you all the information that you're going to need. And we should be at this point, Angela, back to the spreadsheet. Yes. Great. Okay. So then I'm going to skip these 3 tabs here, and I'm going to go to the fun one at the end, so that everybody, if you are inclined and your agent across the table is not asleep yet, give this tab a try. And so the 168 hours is just a tab that says, okay, so how do I spend my time, right? And so my lead generation time per day is 4 hours, and it just does the calculation out. So I'm spending 18 and a half hours a week on that. Whoops, I missed an hour and a half. So I've got to pop in a little more time on that. And then just goes down with a whole bunch of categories for work life here. And then because we all are looking towards that work-life balance, we also add in some of the personal time per week, right? So I'm an 8-hour gal night, got to have my 8 hours to feel good in the morning. So I've got to pop that in there. And I'm probably short. I eat fast, so 2 hours, is per day is what I'm doing there. And I get down here, and so it's going to add these for me. Again, change anything that's in blue. And so I have approximately almost 10 hours a week of free time. Okay. So if Angela had her way, I'd pop back up here and I'd put a little more time in one of these blocks for her, right? This is a fun exercise to go through with the agents. And those agents I've taken through this, it's been an eye-opening experience where they actually spend their time, right? And then the next question is their overlap, right? So think about those parents that have those kids in that soccer game and they're spending 6 hours a week on a soccer field, right? There's the overlap part, is they should also be working their sphere of influence and listening for conversations and inserting those business cards and doing that work. And so that they're not having to spend 3 hours tomorrow prospecting, because I did it last night on the soccer field while I was watching the kids play soccer, okay? So that's a fun exercise to go through. So I'm going to stop share here for a second and let's open it up for some discussion and questions that you may have. I'm going to check the chat room real quick because I think we've got a couple.
Can you also have them wearing some branded material while they're at the soccer game as well?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one.
I'd like that. Thanks.
And yes, we'll send the spreadsheet out, we'll send the slides out, and we'll send the pillars of leads out to everybody as well as the recording afterwards. So you all have this information. And if we need to pop in another short session on how to find this in Profit Power, those numbers that we were talking about, we did that at the 1 o'clock and we're happy to do that. Maybe as a lunch and learn, we'll take 15 minutes and do that if anybody needs that.
Rebecca, is there, we were talking about calculating the percentage of each agent's business between buyers and sellers. I know personally I have a CRM that just clicks it. I click on it and it shows me a graph. It seems like that would be really easy for accounting to create a report in Profit Power by agent that would show what percentage of their business is each.
Yeah, so we do it by hand, although I'm sure there's something out there. Diane, Courtney, some of the business support specialists that have gone through this with some of their sales directors, Christine. Do you know of any report that specifically gives that information? And more to the point, Christine, just a second, Casey, the other point on this is we were talking about earlier is they also need to know where their previous customers came from. Right? Are they keeping a list or a log of, I had 4 customers that were agent referrals. I had 2 come in from Op City. I received 2 from my expireds. So that all needs to be done. And that can be captured in SkySlope. It's a requirement in York County that they put that in. And if Diane is on the line, I see her there in the corner. It doesn't translate to Profit Power, right? The language isn't there for us, what we put in SkySlope to go to Profit Power. Diane, can you tell them a little bit about what you do to translate that information, please?
When I pull my active listings report, I pull up SkySlope at the same time and I enter my listing source into my active listings report. That way, when it's pending and it transmits, then I can either enter the selling source if we have it, or I just leave that part blank. But the listing source does not transmit. You have to physically enter it in there, or it just goes with the basic MLS 224.
And do you know of a report that says list side, sell side that we could easily pull? I mean, I see it on some reports. I guess we could manipulate it in Excel, but
when I pull my pending report, it shows my listing source and my selling source. but I don't know if there's a report that just pulls those.
Christine, I'd seen you unmute. Did you have anything to add to that?
No, I think
Thank you,
Diane
Diane.
said it perfectly. So, the important part is that the agents give us the information from where that lead came from, right? So whether that's a buyer or a seller. And oftentimes the BSS, they're entering into SkySlope on behalf of the agents, and we just automatically go to SOI, sphere of influence, sphere of influence. So, that might be something as part of the office processes to really, make sure that you get that definitive, where did that lead come from? But I'm pretty sure I've seen a report in there where we can pull that out. So I'll go and I'll take a look.
Thank you. Great questions. Anything else? So I've kept you an extra 3 minutes. I hope you'll forgive me for that. But let us know if you need help with the profit power piece of it. We're happy to do more training on that as well. Thank you all for sitting in today and in preparation for the business planning coming up for 2023. Let's make it a great year.